Good Thursday morning. This is interesting. I love this gospel, by the way. I'll show it to you, okay? But here's the reading again. It's Isaiah. He says, "A strong city have we. He sets up walls and ramparts to protect us. Open up the gates to let in a nation that is just, one that keeps faith. One that keeps faith, see? A nation of firm purpose you keep in peace for its trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is an eternal rock. He humbles those in high places, and the lofty city he brings down." God, think of the Second World War. He tumbles it to the ground, levels it with the, think of Berlin, 1945, April, May in 1945. It is trampled underfoot by the needy, by the footsteps of the poor. Boy, that's a powerful image of, literally, of Europe, but especially Germany, the Second World War, and Hitler in the bunker blowing his brains out, okay? Powerful symbol. But listen to the gospel. It's from Matthew. He says, Jesus said to his disciples, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven." Now here's this one. "Everyone who listens to these words of mine and acts on," think of the preaching of the church, "will be like a wise man who built his house on rock. The rain fell, the floods came, the wind blew and buffeted the house, but it didn't collapse. It had been set solidly on rock. And everyone who listens to these words of mine but does not act on them will be like a fool who built his house on sand." Think of Hitler. Think of some of the ideologues of the 20th century, so the demagogues. He will be like a fool who built his house on sand. Can you imagine? Just think of the Nazis. So National Socialism. Talk about built on sand, on the brains of his charismatic misfit. The rains fell, the floods came, the winds blew and buffeted the house. It collapsed and was completely ruined. That's an absolute truth. You don't have to be Christ to see that one. Holy moly, holy moly. 20th century is absolute witness to that. I think of politics. I'm very conscious of the 20th century. I saw the false wisdom of the 20th century and the ideologies that came out of Europe. National Socialism, Communism. It was a century of horrors, one of the popes put it. And even raw capitalism was set up in some ways that. Where was the wisdom of Europe, the church, the Christian world that created Europe, helped to create it, not completely, but provided the soul of Europe? What happened is the European community lost its soul. And when it did, it had only an empty head, and it destroyed itself. I hope today it's recovering. But I think of the image of the house on rocks, as opposed to sand. I think this is true. I can't remember exactly where it is. I think it's Cape Cod. See, I remember there were houses on a bluff, and I think it was Monomoy Island off Cape Cod, off of Chatham. And it enters into a bay, okay, because there was an island outside of it that acted as a buffer against the Atlantic Ocean, okay? And so you had magnificent homes, God almighty, they were gorgeous, sitting up on the bluffs, but the bluffs are made out of sand, okay? They were not rock, they were sand. And as long as this island across, this stretch of land, blocked the ocean, you were fine. But somehow, I don't know when it was, sometime, I think I got it right. I'm going back, my memory's giving me fits. There was a horrific hurricane or something, and it wiped out that island, that sandbar. It was a sandbar, essentially, but it was a critical sandbar. You were standing up high and looking across that huge body of water, but you see the island Monomoy, you'd see the ocean on the other side of it pounding away, okay? But as long as that sandbar was that island, you were safe at this end. Well, guess what? Ain't safe no more. The ocean came roaring in and took those houses down. I want to say just like a house of cards. They just collapsed. $1 million homes were just dropped into the ocean. See? They were built on sand. A great image. The ocean is out there. I think one of the great lessons of the ocean is a powerful symbol of life. It's so powerful. It's relentless in its power. okay? And you either respect its power or you don't. You don't, you'll drown. My father taught us that lesson. So the boys were out in a boat, we were out fishing. Respect the water. Respect the ocean. Respect the water. I see that even when I'm fishing on a lake. Respect the water. Respect the wind. Respect the air. It's bigger than you are. Respect life. You see? Respect it. Don't take it for granted. Don't take anything for granted. You see, and I think that's the rock is Christ. There's no question in this imagery that the rock is Christ. You build your life on the wisdom of Christ himself, on his person. And then you can weather the storms of life. You can weather them because your house is built on rock. It's not sand. It's not going to slide into the ocean. It's not going to do it. It's not going to happen. You see? It can take a beating. I wish the images, well, I grew up on the water. I think, oh yeah, you had to see, you had to respect the water. You respected it, and you made sure you honored its power because it was ruthless if you didn't. And I take that seriously. I think of life that way. The rock that gives us, what's the word I want? Survivability. That's not the right word. What gives us strength, okay, and gives us the capacity to not only endure, but to flourish in the midst of life's great convulsions, as it were, the ocean, the wind, the hurricanes, and the peaceful August mornings. That whole combination of the beauty of the wildness of life itself and the wildness of nature. The wilderness is that way, you see? That if you're in the ocean, if you're on a rock, your security lies in the rock, okay? Not in some foolishness, but on the security of the rock, the wisdom. I guess the wisdom of the rock. I'm not saying any of this well this morning at all. You're safe in life. Not just safe, you'll flourish. It's kind of, I'm flipping metaphors like crazy here. But you see, I love that image because I've seen the houses collapse. I know what he's saying. They built it on sand. I don't care. It's $1 million house. That $1 million, this is 35 years ago. $1 million, there's probably 10 million today. So what? It's all floating down. It's all on its way to Spain, the Atlantic Oceans. Oh, it was built on sand. Be careful of the ideologies of life, the false wisdoms. The 20th century is a mirror of what happens when the house civilization is not based upon the rock. When its foundation is the flimsiness of the sands of ideology and whim and political whim. Even a democracy can be terrifying. Thank God you have a constitution and not just a democracy. Of course, as one person said, democracy is the worst form of government except for all the rest. And I'm a total believer in constitutional democracy. Thank God for it. But I also know you need a humanism, a profound humanism undergirding one, a morality that goes beyond convention and law. And that has to be, in my view, Christ. We are a Christian culture. We are fundamentally Christian. I would say Roman and Christian. Roman, not in the sense of Roman Catholicism, but Roman in the sense we come out of the genius of the Roman Empire, the sciences and Christianity. All three. We are people. The Greeks gave us science, the Romans gave us law, global law, and the church gave us global humanity. It is that combination that gave rise to Western culture. And I believe the culture that is the hope of humanity. Betray any one part of that, and you're off the wall. You're not going to betray science, but you could betray law and create dictatorships. We've seen that. And you could deny the global dignity of human beings. And we've seen that. You could throw out Christianity as superstition. And then your house is really built on sand. Germany did that. Second World War. What did Hitler do? He made himself the new Messiah. I think of him in the bunker, blowing his brains out, while Berlin was burning.